Today we're talking with Gloria Duncan, who was inducted into the Marin County Women's Hall of Fame in March of 1991. Gloria has had a long career in Marin politics, a rather unusual career, you might say, and one that has led her into a field that most of us don't give a lot of thought to. She is an expert in litter control and solid waste management. In fact, she is such an expert that she is known as the Marin County Garbage Queen. A title like that bears a little investigation, I think. So I thought it would be fun tonight if we talked to Gloria about her life and found out how she got from there to here, and see what were some of the things that influenced her life and sparked her interest along the way. We might as well start at the very beginning. Gloria, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about where you started out in life?
Yes, I'm a local girl, local Bay Area. I was born and raised in the East Bay. I went to school in the East Bay and worked in San Francisco in my early teens and married and came to Marin County in the early 50s. So I've been here for almost 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
I know the county very well and have watched a lot of change come to our surrounding areas.
I should say. Well, let's not get you to Marin County yet. Let's talk about talk about your early life. How about your family? Are you an only child?
I am an only child, yes.
How about your mom and dad?
Well, my mother had one sister. My father had 7 brothers and a sister, and he came mostly from Oregon and in the areas around Ashland, and they were all cattle ranchers. And he was the only one that stepped out and came down to the University of California and became a dentist.
And how about school? Did you enjoy school?
Yes. I think I probably would have prospered more if I had gone to school in the 60s where you had alternative education. There were lots of subjects I just thrived on and others that, you know, I could have done without. I can remember a history teacher said that if he had only had me at 10 o'clock in the morning instead of 9 o'clock, he knew I would have enjoyed history more. So.
What were you doing at 9? Still sleeping,
well,
maybe?
I was probably not awake yet.
Did you have any idea when you were young about what you might be when you grew up? Any fantasies?
No, not really. And as I look back on my life, I've always been compelled to try new things. Very curious. Really driven to learn, I guess that's what it is. And as I explained before, I did not have a formal education. I married when I was 19 and went to work and just didn't have that opportunity to go on to college.
Had you thought you would go on to college always, or hadn't that been a goal?
Well, it was a goal, but I think I scared my mother to death because when I was a junior in high school, I wanted to go to Stevens College. And it was because they taught aviation and flying there. And it was in the latter part of World War II, and I'm sure that I wouldn't have probably flown overseas, but I wanted to join the WAFs and ferry bombers. And funny how my mother just didn't think that was too good of an idea. And I never got to Stevens. But I still think of sometimes maybe taking flying lessons even now. After I graduated from high school, I went with a friend of mine to New York. And I was only 18 at the time.
Wow.
I went to New York and I stayed for a year.
Good for you.
And I worked for a fashion photographer and I modeled in New York for a year before I came back to San Francisco.
Oh, that sounds like fun. That's kind of every young woman's fantasy, I think, to do that.
It was a lot of hard work in a big city. Of course, you wouldn't go to New York, I don't think, now when you're 18. It was a very safe city then, and loved every minute of it. It was fascinating.
I bet. And why did you come home?
I think my mother thought it was time I came back.
And then you married soon after that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And you lived where?
I lived in San Francisco for a short period of time and then moved to Marin County. Yeah.
And did you work again, or was that
Yes, I worked with iMagnons for 13 years.
And what did you do for them?
I modeled first for them in their custom salon, and then I became the manager of the second floor. I did the fashion show that opened iMagnons on Union Square.
For goodness sake.
And that was quite a thrill.
Have clothes always been an interest of yours?
It was a way to earn a living, Beth.
It was a way to earn a living. Tell me about your married life.
Well, I'm married to Bruce Duncan, and we've been married for over 30 years. We have two very lovely daughters that I'm very proud of. And like I have said, maybe it's because I didn't get the full education that I really should have gone on and gotten. My two daughters are very well educated. One is a chemical engineer, and the other one has just received a degree from the London School of Economics in foreign trade.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what they do with all of that.
You mentioned that you did not have a formal education. Do you think your life would have been changed if you had gotten one?
I kind of scares me to think of what I might have done. You might never have been able to hang on to me.
What do you visualize that you might have studied? What were the alternatives that you saw for yourself?
Well, I think the avenues of learning really opened up to me after my children were at school, when there you were, when you had hours during the day that you could do something besides take care of little children. And I was asked to join the League of Women Voters, and I thought you had to have a PhD to belong. And I found out that you didn't. And I joined them, and it was just like a well of education in front of me. In those days, in the early 70s, they were studying land use and special districts. I didn't even know what a special district was. Water was a major issue with the peripheral canal. Then came along a study on waste management, Beth, and that really perked me. And it was what we called a vertical program. So we studied it all the way from the federal to the state to the local issues. And
Waste management?
Waste management. And that's kind of how I got into it. My field that I've been working in now for 20 years is that the state was just doing general plans for your land use planning, and then the various elements were coming with it. And one of them was, shortly after that, those studies were that we had to have a waste management plan for the county of Marin. And I was appointed to that committee by the Board of Supervisors, and there I met some wonderful people, like dear old Ted Wellman and the king of trash. Every queen's got to have her king of trash, and that's Joe Garbarino. Did
you start at this in waste management and study of land use and so forth, or did you enter politics at another level?
Well, I think one thing that the League studies do, and even the educational programs through the Environmental Forum and the others, you quickly learn that environmental issues are political issues. And in order to make things, make a change, to make progress in any particular area, you're going to have to learn how to deal with it on a political level. Because all of those decisions that are going to deal with those issues are political decisions. And once you've learned a lot from those studies, you just can't leave them alone. And so immediately, you know, you find yourself on a city council, on a city planning commission. I was then appointed to the county planning commission for 8 years. Love of the coast, I spent 4 years on the coastal commission. Then I ran for the city council and was mayor of Fairfax. Many people don't remember that I even ran for the Board of Supervisors against Barbara Boxer.
A lot of what you have been involved with seems to arise out of an interest in the environment. Was that a commitment of yours from the beginning, or where did that come from?
Well, I think it really probably began when I first came to Marin County. I did live in Greenbrae, and I lived above Sir Francis Drake Boulevard, where the road goes to Marin General Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't a Marin General Hospital. It was just a dirt road. There was no Marin Catholic High School. It was a marsh. And I slowly saw the mountains come down across in Larkspur that filled in the marsh to build a housing development. I think the thing that really made the crusade was when they were going to do Marincello, way back in those days, and I remember carrying a petition for it, against it. Why, Beth? I don't know how I got involved in those things, but it just didn't seem the right thing to do, to build.
What was Marin?
Well, it was a large community. It would probably hold over 20,000 people. A city, really, a new city that would have been built on the headlands of Marin. And the gates are still there off of Tennessee Valley. It seemed impossible in those days that we were planning for the year 2000, and it's going to be here.
Were you involved in the countywide plan?
Yes, I served on the Planning Commission in Fairfax at the time, and I was their delegate to the City-County Planning Council that drew up the Marin County Plan.
Which is now
redoing it.
Yeah, right, redoing.
Which is interesting because now we're finding all the issues that were the issues then in the early 70s are right back in our laps again.
And are they being looked at in the same way?
Yes, I think so. And I think we're going to come and lock horns again politically when you start talking about your open space and our bayfront wetlands, transportation, affordable housing. They're all there, and those issues were there then. 40 or 50% of the people that live in the county today have only lived here 3 years.
Yes, I know.
They don't really know. They came here because they love it, but they don't know why it's the way it is and the battles that why it's so special.
Yeah. Have you been, do you consider that you've been battling for a lot of years? Has it been something that required eternal vigilance and eternal effort to keep?
Constantly. And even in the atmosphere you have today, in waste management, when you talk about packaging problems, excess of this and excess of that, plastic problems that we have in the waste stream, you know, and I still look at some of those from the industry that will do battle with you. It's always a battle. You win a few and you lose a lot. But I've been around a long time, and many times I look at them and say, you know, when you're long gone and the next guy comes around, I'm still going to be here.
Which of all the things that you have done, Mayor of Fairfax, campaigning for Peter Bear, I think was one of the things you said, what has been the most fun?
Garbage.
Garbage.
When I was a tiny child, we used to go to Lake Tahoe. And we had a summer home at Carnelian Bay, and one of the biggest treats, I don't know why, but one of the biggest treats my mother could give me was to take me up to a pig farm back of Kings Beach. And there were some ranchers there that used to come from the valley every summer, and they'd bring their hogs. And then they would be the scavengers and collect the garbage around the north end of Tahoe, and then they'd take it back up in the hill, and they would process it, and they would feed the hogs. Don't ask me. I just was absolutely fascinated with it. And I used to really, and I'm really telling my age now, get a real twinge when a cart drawn by a horse came down the street at home, someone yelling rags, bottles, and sacks. As I've said before, you know, when I first started out on this, a woman in garbage, it was really a man's world. I wasn't Italian. And they didn't quite know what to do with me.
Well,
and I
did you
just
have to
stuck
get
around.
involved with the scavengers right away? I mean, were you working directly with the garbage companies?
Well, what happened was that when we developed the element, the solid waste element to our general plan, then after we drew it up, you have to find a way to implement what you're trying to do. And that, I think, was probably the turning point in Marin County. And we are really at the state of the art, where we are we do more recycling here in Marin County and more advanced technology than I think almost any other place in the state or in the nation, and we have people from all over the world that come here. But our recycling program started out with like Gary Giacomini, Ted Wellman, and Joe Garbarino, and myself, and Nancy Wise, your friend Nancy, all going to Sacramento one time to try and find enough money to put together a curbside pickup program. And there was some funding there under a waste management bill. We didn't even know what a curbside pickup truck should even look like.
Was that being done elsewhere?
The funds were there, and various people were coming in from all over the state. But when we got there that day, and we always put our politically put our act together, we were loaded. I mean, we had the whole thing put together in
Pretty
Mills.
powerful people.
Well, we thought we were anyway.
Yeah.
So when we walked in front of the Waste Management Board, people were asking, you know, for $35,000 for a little program, and they wanted to do this and they wanted to do that. So we walked up and we asked them for $500,000. Well, they were just overwhelmed. So they told us to go out and try and whittle that down a little bit and come back after lunch. So we went out to lunch and we whittled it down, and we came back with a proposal for $75,000 to do a pilot project in Novato that was all on the level, so that we could concentrate and try and get some figures put together as to how a program would actually work.
What year was that?
It was in the early 70s again.
Yeah. Excuse me, I didn't
No,
mean to
it was in the early 70s again. And by golly, they gave it to us. And we came back with it, and we put the pilot program together. It was highly successful. We even had to design our first curbside pickup trucks. We didn't even know how they should work. I mean, the source separators, all the machinery, it was just like Tinker Toy starting out with.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so new. And I can remember when I was up at Priscilla Bull's one morning when the program just started, and I heard the truck in the bottom of Kent Woodlands dumping the cans into the truck, and you could hear all that, those cans and the glass going, and it just, oh, God, it was wonderful. It doesn't turn a lot of people on.
I was going to say, there are people who wouldn't think that was so wonderful.
But that program has now taken us to a program which is probably close to $14 or $15 million. And we not only recover what used to go to the San Quentin landfill, everything that went to that San Quentin landfill now goes to our resource recovery plant. And it's all source separated. And
nothing is left over?
there's some, what we can't do anything with then goes back to the landfill. But the greatest majority of what goes in there, almost 60–70% of it is processed, and something is done with it. Our biggest problem right now, and it's going to continue to be the biggest problem, is finding the markets that will use your secondary materials. And the state has just passed AB 939, which is a piece of legislation that says that you must recycle or reuse or remove from your waste stream 25% by the year 1995, 50% by the year 2000. So when you start thinking of a whole state of California pulling that much out of their waste stream, we're going to have to create a whole new industry that's based on secondary materials. Otherwise, they're going to can't hold on to them. We're going to have to go back into the landfill. Right now, a great deal of our paper and cardboard will go to the Pacific Rim nations, simply because they've removed all their forests. They have no wood products. They can't manufacture paper anymore. And so a lot of that goes there, but I think we have to start looking for ways to reuse that resource here in the United States. It's a whole new industry.
It's a whole societal problem, isn't it? I mean, it's not something that you and Joe are going to be able to figure out all by yourself.
Well, I think the thing that we're trying to do the most is through community education, is to try and to educate people to think about what you buy, how something is packaged, what are you going to do with what's left over, and can you buy it a better way, a less wasteful way.
And one would hope that industry would start thinking about how they package too.
That's where the battle is, and that's the one I'm in.
Now, what does your life consist of? Are you testifying and going around trying to educate people? What do you do now? What is your role now?
Right now, I serve on the county's Solid Waste Management Committee.
And what does that committee do?
They deal with trying to deal with waste, with the waste that would go to our landfills. There's two divisions in that, underneath AB 939. One deals with toxic waste, and the other one deals with household and the industrial and retail waste. And that's the one that I usually work on. There's others that work in the toxic field. That's a whole special field in itself. But then all of those come together under the AB 939, which is the legislation that we're going to have to really buckle under to. Everyone's going to have to be responsible for it. The cities have to be responsible, the county, and we just have to do a lot of educating. It's a whole new world. You know, years ago, people thought of waste management as the garbage can that you had to remember to put out on a Thursday night. And the only thing that really worried you is if the garbage man didn't spill the coffee grains, put the lid back on, or wake up your dog. And then it was out of sight and out of mind. It's not anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just not. Marin County generates enough waste to fill Candlestick Park twice in 1 year.
Do you ever look back and think, gee, I was always going to be a or or maybe I'd like to try something else, or has this been a thoroughly
Well,
happy choice for you?
I have my alternative is that I do work. I do have a job.
Oh, you do?
That's right. Remember that?
Tell us about
I do
that.
manage the factory store at Heath Ceramics in Sausalito.
Oh.
And I've done that for 10 years.
What is it that motivates you to give so much of yourself? You obviously are programmed a good deal of the time to be doing something.
I like the challenge. It's very satisfying to see the progress we've made over the years. And again, I love the people I work with. There's so much to do. And I just love being part of it.
Do you have any words of wisdom about public service?
Well,
Or don't you think
yes.
of it that way? Okay.
I think it's important for people to give back to their community. I really do. Whether you have small children and you give your time back to your school, whether it be that you serve on committees or even the room mother or baking the cookies for a party, or whether it's scouts or whatever you do. I think it's important that the community gives you a great deal, and I think it's important to give back to it and try to make some part of that community better by your efforts. A great deal of our success in the environment and things that have been done are people who are willing to volunteer their time and their efforts. And the economy has changed a lot of that. We have 2 people working out of a household. Many of them just don't have the time to do that. And it's too bad because lots of programs, children's programs, Little League programs, scouting programs, a lot of things suffer because parents just don't have the time to give to those things anymore.
I'd be interested if you have any things at all you would like to say to women in general about the capabilities of getting involved in something like garbage. Has it been hard for you?
Don't crowd my field now.
No. You want to be the queen forever.
Darn right. Well, I think I would like to see more young women get involved in some of the organizations that I've mentioned. I think you're missing out on a lot if you don't become involved in your local community.
Now, what organizations would you recommend?
Like the League of Women Voters. It's really wonderful. It's done a lot for my life. Marin Conservation League, the Marin Environmental Forum. I mean, they're all organizations that you can participate in just as a member. I mean, we've got lots of committee work that's going on. It's fascinating.
When you look over a life that I think most people would consider to have been a very successful one, because it has involved so much contribution to the community, and you have, well, I'm complimenting you, don't mean to embarrass you, but people certainly respect you a great deal.
That's
Have
nice.
there been any things about your career that have been tough? Where do you remember any low spots?
Low spots come when you're about to get defeated on an issue that you've worked really hard on.
And that happens?
Yes, it does. It does. I think one of them that was really hard to take was with Teddy Wellman and the rest of us was when the battle over the Warm Springs Dam in Sonoma County, and even back to Peter Bear when he ran for Senate that time. It was a very controversial issue, and Peter took a very strong stand on it. And I can remember the night of that election, and boy, the votes were coming in up and down that coast, but they were getting mighty weak in Sonoma County, and I thought, oh God, we didn't defeat Peter because of Warm Springs Dam, did we? You know, and still I'm battling with the plastic industry on their packaging, take out food packaging and all those. It's a long, hard battle, and it can be very discouraging. But you just hang in.
As a woman, have there been any problems for you?
Beth, I started so long ago that I guess I started before I thought there was a difference. They were my friends, and I worked with them. I think the thing that you have to do is that you have, any field you get into, you have to meet them on an equal basis. Then women have to be, I think, don't push your way in there. You'll gain the respect from the knowledge you have and the way you conduct yourself. And you know, if the haulers in this county and in all over the state respect me, you know, that's got to say something.
Pretty nice. Who else could possibly be the queen of trash? What would you consider in your life to have been the triumphs? What are you proudest of?
Well, I'm very honored at being here tonight. To be recognized by the people, and also in my background to think that the AAUW actually approved of me and placed me in a place of honor it's like getting your PhD.
That's very nice.
Yes, that is a high spot.
Good. Are there any things that are left out there that you really want to accomplish before you hang them up? Not that anybody wants you to hang them up.
No, I just keep looking a little further out there. And I think that we're going to, in the next few years, start looking at things more on regional levels. It's going to be Bay Area issues. And what we do in Marin affects Alameda County. What Alameda does is going to affect Contra Costa County, and we're all one. And so I think that the major solutions we're going to find to our environmental concerns are going to be probably resolved on a regional basis, which is good. We're finally getting to think that way.
Do you expect to be in there working on
wherever I can find a niche?
That's good. You know, as we talk and I hear your laughter and see your smile, it sounds to me as though you've had a happy life.
I have.
Yeah.
And I think that's something too, no matter what you're working in, and no matter how difficult situations come, don't lose your sense of humor.